Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, we give you a tour of the latest mega ship to pull into port.
Also ahead tonight, better security for the nation's airports.
And Women's League action winds down. The Bahamas Tonight starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keisha Adderley.
And I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks for joining us.
Topping the news tonight, it's the latest megaship to call on the port of Nassau, the Norwegian Getaway. Today, officials from the cruise line and the Ministry of Tourism officially exchanged plaques welcoming the ship with more than 3,000 visitors on board. Every Friday for the rest of the year, you're likely to see it in port.
Jimenita Swain was there for the exchange and provides a sneak peek of what the ship has to offer.
The view from the top of the Norwegian Getaway almost completely dwarfed the Disney Wonder Park next to it and the port of Nassau. The ship offers more than 20 dining experiences to cruisers, among a number of other entertainment and water-related offerings. On Friday, officials from the ship and the Ministry of Tourism exchanged plaques, officially marking the Getaway's first visit. Captain Tommy Stansrod said the relationship Norwegian has with the Bahamas has been a great one, and he looks forward to passenger numbers increasing.
Wish that we could come in a little bit earlier, for there's this huge pressure on people when they want to get off as soon as possible. So at noon, when they have their lunch, they want to just run ashore and see the island. Right now we have about 3,300, but we will increase the capacity now as spring breaks start, and the ship will be more known in the market, so we'll hope to fill it up to max capacity with over 4,000.
On a weekly basis, the ship will run from Miami down the Eastern Caribbean, stopping in St. Martin and other ports before Nassau. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Harrison Thompson, noted that renovations are taking place at the Entryway Festival Place, but they will ensure that very soon cruisers have a sustained calendar of activities.
To continually ensure that Festival Place and its supporting areas are venues that our visitors enjoy during their time here. So you will see in the coming weeks a rollout of sustained calendar of activities throughout the day and evenings while your guests are in port.
With the gifts exchanged, it was now time to tour the 7-star floating hotel. Omar Donadieu is the lead on this part of the journey. The ship offers a gallery, fine dining restaurants, and illusionarium for those into dinner and magic tricks. But at the very top, besides the expansive view, there are 5 water slides, rock climbing, and a back patio for fireworks. But Omar said the ship is designed to allow passengers to book any activity with the tip of their fingertips if they desire.
For example, if I want to go on a shoot excursions, well, today probably we can because it already is the last day. But on board services, right? I go and I connect internet cafe, I can go get service ATM machines, cruise consultant desk, or I go to the box office. We do this to avoid the lines, right? Because you obviously we have a place where they can go. They can go to the guest services, they can go to the restaurant reservations desk. But what they're gonna do, they're gonna be waiting in line. They are aggravated. So when you do these babies, it takes about 45 seconds to book anything.
This is the last stop for the Norwegian Getaway on its 7-day cruise before heading back to Miami tomorrow and doing it all again next week. Jimenita Swain, ZNS Network News.
Airport security is getting a major overhaul nationwide. Right now, new equipment is being installed and personnel trained to operate them. This is the Bahamas aviation industry positions itself to be a respected sector among competitor destinations. Harshanique Miller has more.
A whole new focus on security at the government's 28 airports, with several new features geared towards heightening security at each hub. Aviation and Transport Minister Glenys Hannah Martin announced new surveillance and security equipment, as well as security officers are now being installed and trained as part of a comprehensive effort to shore up security.
Over the last several days, teams have been moving into airports throughout the country, installing new security equipment, and the training of airport security officers in the use and management of this equipment. This type of sophisticated equipment we're talking about now, first time ever in our country. And the end result is expected to be a more efficient aviation sector with a refined focus on safety and security and a concentration on enhancing airport development and the creation of more commercially viable airports.
The upgrade in airport security makes up a new aviation policy that puts the Bahamas on the level of other international airports in an increasingly competitive industry. Hannah Martin says the upgrades are part of a radical reform of the entire sector.
Consultancies are underway for the separation of the regulatory function of the Civil Aviation Department by the creation of a Civil Aviation Authority from the commercial and operational side of airports, which will come under the Airports Authority.
The Bahamas has had its share of air incidents. Presently, crashes and other accidents are investigated by the Flight Inspectorate, an arm of civil aviation. Well, Hannah Martin says a separate entity that will only focus on air incidents is being established.
The vitality and efficiency and highest standards at work in our network of airports will prove to be an incredible facilitator of a dynamic social and economic environment in our archipelago. It will create new career opportunities of a specialized nature and foster linkages in local communities, which will cause for exponential economic growth and new entrepreneurial opportunities.
The department is getting set to roll out a new group of air traffic controllers. 10 people are in training. Meantime, night flying to become a reality at several airports around the country. The airport at Bimini will be the first to start. Shanique Miller, ZNS Network News.
The government is being criticized for its lack of statistical data in the mid-year budget. And as Carla Palmer tells us, the opposition says the government is spending less in essential areas while spending millions more in others.
Member of Parliament for Central Grand Bahama, Mr. Nico Grant, says he was disappointed that Prime Minister the Right Honourable Perry Christie and his team of cabinet ministers did not present more statistical accounts of each ministry expenditure during his mid-year budget debate, nor table a revised budget for the remainder of the year.
A revised budget would have enabled members and the general public to review and make their own determination as to how serious he and his government are about reducing expenditures. A number of ministers continue to spend as if money is falling from the trees.
Having done his own review, Mr. Grant compared the government's expenditure this fiscal period from July to December 2013-2014 with the previous year, concluding the government is spending more in several areas compared to the last.
The Department of Public Service spent $6.8 million more. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs spent $1.9 million more. The Treasury spent $12 million more. And the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, $2.2 million more. What I find interesting, though, Mr. Speaker, is that the Department of Social Services spent $1.3 million less. Mr. Speaker, that certainly requires an explanation. When we take into consideration the number of persons unemployed and the other mitigating circumstances that require legitimate assistance from the Department of Social Services.
Social Services Minister, the Honorable Melanie Griffin, responded.
As it states in the estimates, it doesn't mean that less is being spent. The situation with the food assistance program, Mr. Speaker, is that vouchers go out to the various vendors throughout the country. There are several vendors. And the ministry can only account for those vouchers that have already been paid for.
The member for Central Grand Bahama criticized the government for spending less on Family Island development by a reported $2.5 million. Mr. Grant says while the former administration spent money, it did so on things you can see, feel, and touch. I'm Carla Palmer for ZNS Network News.
Member of Parliament for Ragged Island and Exuma, Mr. Anthony Moss, is encouraging residents nationwide, primarily those in his constituency, to embrace opportunities which will be made available through new investment projects. He also highlighted projects already underway in his constituency, and he's lobbying for the empowerment of more Bahamians.
That, Mr. Speaker, Bahamians must be included in the development and contractual stages of all of these various projects in order for our people to really feel the full economic impact of these new investments coming into the Exumas. We cannot continue to be left on the outside looking in. We look forward to the full rollout of the National Training Agency's program. Training is needed to also eliminate the need for so many foreign workers in our country. In many instances, the Bahamians are training these individuals, but are not being paid for the knowledge and experience we have. Mr. Speaker, we have to turn this situation around and truly create a Bahamas that is for Bahamians first.
Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins asked Financial Services Minister Ryan Pinder to help clarify the impact of becoming a member of the World Trade Organization on the gaming industry in the Bahamas. As it stands now, it is illegal for Bahamians to participate in gaming, and if we accede to the WTO, it would open the door for more foreign providers to make efforts to provide gaming services. Reiterating his belief that if gaming is illegal, it should be illegal to all, and if it is illegal, it should be open to all, the Gaming Board Chairman warned of the potential consequences of joining the trade liberalizing organization, given our current gaming laws.
The public out of the discussion to the detriment of the Bahamian people. You see, if we talk about a cession to the WTO, if there's no conversation about how that diminishes our power as a state to prevent persons from participating in a particular industry, it means then that we could potentially, if we continue to insist on depriving Bahamians from participating as owners in the industry, it means then we would probably be member for Elizabeth, the only WTO member that has protectionist policies that discriminate against its own citizens.
The Member of Parliament for Fort Charlotte also explained that his position is not because of any involvement in the industry, but rather from an unwillingness to support discrimination against Bahamians.
It's not because I do not recognize the dangers inherent in gaming. It is not because I am speaking because I have a benefit to gain, Mr. Speaker. But it is because I know that my responsibility as a leader like you, sir, elected by the people, is to inform them so that they understand that if we come in here to pass legislation soon that modernizes the gaming legislation, and if we accede to the WTO soon, then we will be saying that we are supportive of the idea of foreigners having rights in this country through our membership and through our legislation, membership in WTO that is, and legislation that we enact through this House. We will be denying Bahamians the right to do the same.
His Excellency Paiswell Forbes, meantime, the Member of Parliament for South Andros and High Commissioner to CARICOM, has called on more development for island communities like the one he represents. During his contribution to the House of Assembly, he commented on the importance of such development.
Good quality infrastructure is a key ingredient to sustainable development. All countries need efficient transport, sanitation, energy, and communication systems if they are to prosper and provide a decent standard of living for their populations. Viewed functionally, Mr. Speaker, infrastructure facilitates the production of goods and services. For example, roads enable the transport of agriculture products to markets and basic social services, such as schools and hospitals. Unfortunately,
Many developing countries possess poor infrastructure, and island communities like mine are still challenged in this regard, which hampers their growth and ability to trade in the global economy.
Agriculture Minister the Honorable V. Alfred Gray says breadbasket items are expected to be exempt from value-added tax, but even as the government makes the bold move to ensure food security for future generations, he says many things the less fortunate need to survive will be excluded from taxes. He hit out at business owners who are already increasing their prices.
If people are going up on any item, it will not be because of the discussion surrounding VAT. People may use it as a means of padding prices, and crooks will do that. Everybody who are in business is expected to make money, but crooks will pad prices when there's no need to pad it. In other words, where they could make 50% profit, they want 100% profit. But they're crooks, and ain't much we could do about that. You cannot legislate honesty. It has to be inside you to be honest. Having said that, the government is not going to implement anything that will make the poor poorer.
Now, ZNS News was told that food store owners met with Labor Minister Shane Gibson today about pricing. The need for prices to be increased, we understand, was one of the concerns. We also got calls from residents about the rising cost of food and other items. Mr. Gray, however, says the government will ensure that the cost of living essentials are retained.
The poor amongst us must always be a part of the consideration of any government. And this government, of which I am a part, will never allow those things that poor people need to live by to become a problem through the VAT system. You know who are afraid of VAT? Those people who make big money. They don't want to pay taxes. And I understand that.
In our first look at weather, we have this front boundary which went through during the early morning hours, dumped some showers which were heavy in some places and some strong gusty winds as well, leaving behind cloudy conditions, but we do expect some clearing later on tonight. But outside of our studios just now, we have mostly cloudy skies, temperatures 72 degrees, relative humidity 78%, your winds out of the west-northwest at 7 knots, your barometric pressure 1,015.0 millibars, that's 29.97 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned, temperatures around the Palm Beach Islands, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Well, still ahead, changes now in force on the police force. Find out coming up.
And in sports, highlights from women's basketball. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.